We were going through or talking about the first Lost Planet here before, and kind of came to the conclusion that it's a really weird foreign game.
Yeah.
And now it's time for Lost Planet 2.
Which is an even weirder, more foreign game.
It is. In what way?
Well,
How can it get any weirder?
In a lot of ways. The basic premise is it's 10 years since the first game. The first game was an ice planet. Now they've terraformed it, so it's jungle and desert and industrial quarters and stuff like that. The game is split into 6 episodes. Each of them takes place in its own different geographic environment, kind of. Each episode follows a different faction with a new different main character. And the game never tells you who the main character is. You don't get a name. You don't really know what you're doing. You don't know why you're doing it. And the story is just, you get like sort of hints that there might be a story somewhere behind all the shooting and the stuff, but it never gets told at all. All you get is a slight hint at yeah, there might be a little bit of cohesiveness, but mainly it just feels like completely random things just thrown together. And
the game suffers for it because it could have been a point, to that kind of.
Yeah, it could, but yet it suffers because it just seems meaningless what you're doing because there's no context to it. But my biggest gripe with the game actually is, if a game has a lousy story, the gameplay might make up for it, and if the game has lousy gameplay, the story might make up for it. But my main gripe about Lost Planet 2 is the shooting, because most modern shooters, they mix it up a bit. They have a lot of variants. They have you might have sniper level, you might have vehicle level, you might have an infiltration level. All the action in Lost Planet 2 is the same, from beginning to end. You run into a room, you shoot some guys, you run to the next room, you shoot some guys, end of level, rinse and repeat. The color of the room changes. Sometimes it's actually a piece of nature and you shoot some monsters, but mostly they have run to a room, shoot some guys, run to a room, shoot some guys, end of level. And while some of the shooting is actually pretty entertaining, it just gets tedious and repetitive. And some of the weapons feel pretty nice. They have a nice big satisfactory boom to them. But the main gun, which is like a machine gun, feels like weak, thin. The sound on it sucks. It reminds me of if you've ever seen the movie Starship Troopers, the guns they run around with, where they pump like a zillion bullets into these big ass monsters and nothing happens. Feels a bit like that, using that gun. The rocket launcher is pretty cool. Explosions look great, but other than that, really tedious, repetitive shooting.
But how's the graphics? Because I remember Lost Planet, the first one, at least looked good.
Yeah, and mostly this one looks good too, especially the daylight levels. Nighttime levels get really dark, gritty, and there's like the artistic style of it is sort of messy and disturbing. So, well, not disturbing, but yeah, messy. So details sort of blend in with the environment. So it becomes like just this big brown gunk sometimes. Whereas other levels are pretty nice looking, and the explosions are excellent.
But does it have? Because again, with the Lost Planet 1 had this mechanic where the monsters dropped energy that kept your suit warm and so on, and you had to kill them and you had to collect the heat to not freeze to death. That's back as well.
That mechanic is back, even though there's practically no winter shooting or scenes. But monsters and enemies still drop this yellow energy thing. You use it whenever you have to sort of repair. There's these big VS suits, like big robotic exoskeletons with guns. You can repair those once in a while after they've taken damage. That taps energy. A couple other things that tap energy. You don't really use it for much, and whenever you run out, your teammates will just throw you some new stuff. So it's a fairly inconsequential mechanic.
But is that used in every level?
Yeah, every level. Even if you're in the desert, you still need this T energy.
That makes perfect sense.
Thermal energy is the completely, it makes no sense at all. And it's, I guess it's typical of the game.
So in the end, it's just inconsequential. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And the shooting is tedious. Doesn't sound like a very good game.
It isn't.
That's a pretty good way to wrap things up. Is it a good game? No.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a technically it's not a bad game, but it's not a good game.
All right, fair. That's a pretty bad. It sounds like a pretty bad score.
Yeah, but, I mean, I won't recommend it to anybody.
All right, fair enough.